one, because it is the same meaning as the verb, is vend. So vendo, vendere means to sell. Okay, so to start off chapter 29, we're going to talk about some of the new vocabulary in there. And what they're doing here is they're actually introducing you to a few passive verbs. Now we've mentioned the passive in passing. Again, no pun intended. We've mentioned the passive and passive. We've mentioned the passive in passing several times, just because you have a tendency to mistranslate active words as passive words. And now we'll actually get the chance to translate words that should be passive as passive. So let's take a look at a non-passive one first. Summa celeritate. Summa, it comes from summus, which means highest. Summa would be the ablative singular feminine of summus aum. Celeritate would be the ablative singular of celeritas celeritatis, which is speed. So summa celeritate, highest speed in the ablative, would mean by, with, or from the greatest speed. Do you get why that is? Because summa aum is an adjective, a superlative adjective, and celeritas celeritatis is a noun. So summa celeritate are both ablative, so by the highest speed, with the highest speed, or from the highest speed. And the one that makes the most sense is with the greatest speed, with the highest speed. English derivative of summa is summit. Summit, if you will. Oh my God. Who read this book before me wrote servant? So, for our first example of the passive voice, we also get the ablative of agent. The ablative of agent is one of the most useful things with the passive voice. It sort of takes what would have been the subject if it were in the active voice and makes it into the ablative. So, a servis ferebantur, as you can see, means were being carried by slaves. So you see it's bant, right? They were. The UR at the end there is telling you that it's passive. So ferebantur is not they were carrying, it's they were being carried. A servis, they were being carried by slaves. If it were active voice, it would be servi, slaves nominative, eos ferebant, the slaves carried them. But in this case, they, who would be the object, right, who would be accusative, if it were active voice, they become the subject. They were being carried by slaves. Okay, and then we have concurso, right, which means to run to and fro and run about. Now, an English derivative we get from this is the word concourse, which is technically a place where pathways or roads meet, such as in a hotel, convention center, a railway station, an airport terminal, a hall, or other space. When I think of concourse, I think of a place where you basically run back and forth between a bunch of shops and go shopping. Then we have portator, which means is being carried. Now, look at portator. Take away the the UR, and what does that mean? Portat means he, she, it carries. Portator is he, she, it is carried. Okay, so that's another passive voice. So your passive endings, aorist, ter, mer, mini, enter, look a lot like your active endings. We're going to get into the passive in earnest later on, but those are the two examples that you're going to get in this story. But those are not new verbs. Those are just new forms of old verbs. Delecto, delectare, delectavi, delectatus is to delight or to amuse. Delectable. If you ever heard of, there's an old Willy Wonka candy commercial, and it was like fun packs, and they were sugar sticks, and Willy Wonka goes, "They're so delectable, you can even eat the stick." So, to delecto, delectare is to delight or to amuse. Willy Wonka amuses me. And candy delights me. Mendicus is a beggar. There is an English derivative, mendicant, but you're better off learning the Latin word mendicus, meaning beggar, and then you'll understand what mendicant means, because I'm sure that none of you have ever heard the word mendicant before in English. But yeah, so mendicant is just a person who begs. Yeah. Okay. Elegant, elegans means elegant. Elegantissimus means most elegant. So that's what's called a superlative adjective. Superlative means really, really a lot, or most. Adstantes means bystanders. Now, why is this such an easy word? Because ad is to or towards, and stant comes from sto stare, meaning to stand. So people who stand near something are bystanders. A rixa is a quarrel, and unfortunately there is no English derivative for brixa, rixai. There's going to be a Quizlet for this. Should be up on Saturday. So you should definitely have access to it during the week. Finis, okay, is the end. And we get the English derivative, how about, I don't know, finish? And finite and infinite, but finish. The reason they're telling you that the genitive plural is finium is because that's what's called an istem. Libertus liberti, freedman, you should already know that one. Ipse ipsa ipsum is another pronoun, don't worry about it. Fumus, fumi, is where you get, is smoke, and it's where you get the word perfume, and fumigate. So if you want to kill all the cockroaches, or make your house smell good, you use fumus.